After 20 years of marriage, my world shattered when my best friend dropped a bombshell that I never saw coming. He confessed that, the night before my wedding, he had slept with my wife. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I simply stared him down and told him to leave. There was no emotion in my voice, just cold finality. He left without a word, and as I drove home, it felt as though I were disconnected from my own body, moving through the world like a ghost. When I arrived, she was there, sitting in bed, reading, completely unaware of the storm that had just torn through my life. The moment she saw my face, confusion washed over her. Before she could ask what was wrong, I blurted, "You cheated on me." Her face drained of color. She didn't need me to say who told me, she knew. She broke down instantly, sobbing uncontrollably. "It was just that one time," she cried, her voice thick with emotion. "It didn't mean anything. I was drunk. I never thought we'd even end up together. I forgot about it. Please, Mark, don't do this." She crawled toward me, reaching out, her hands shaking. "Please," she whispered, her face crumpling with grief. "We have so much history, a family. Don't throw it all away." I stepped back. The look in her eyes, the desperation in her voice, it was almost too much to bear. But as much as I wanted to forgive her, I couldn't ignore what had been done. "I didn't ask for any of this," I muttered, "but this is your fault." And with that, I walked away. Jason had always been the last person I'd ever suspect of betraying me. We had a bond that felt unbreakable. For 2 decades, I thought I had the life everyone dreamed of, a long-lasting marriage, 2 kids off to college, a house filled with memories and laughter. And Jason, he had been like a brother. He stood by me through every major life event, from helping me build the crib for our first child to being there when I buried my father. Every Sunday, he'd show up, just to sit on the porch and talk about anything and everything. And Elena. Elena was my peace, my everything. Sure, like any couple, we had our rough patches, but I always believed in us. I never imagined anything could threaten the foundation we'd built. Until that evening. Jason had been off that night. We sat on the porch, passing around the scotch, like we had so many times before. But tonight, something was different. He wasn't joking around. He wasn't talking about work or the game. He just sat there, staring out into the yard, lost in thought. Finally, he spoke. "There's something I need to tell you," he said, his voice low. His eyes were fixed on the shadows stretching across the grass. I figured it was something heavy, maybe about his divorce or a serious health scare. I never imagined the words that followed. "The night before your wedding," he began, his voice steady, "Elena and we slept together." I froze. My mind refused to accept it. He wasn't stumbling over his words, he wasn't trying to soften the blow, he just kept talking. "It was a mistake," he continued. "We were drunk. But I've been carrying this for 20 years, and I can't keep it to myself anymore." I stood up, not out of anger, but because I couldn't stay seated, couldn't find the strength to stay still. I looked at him, the man I had trusted with everything, and for the first time, I didn't recognize him. The anger hit me like a freight train. "Get out, Jason." He didn't argue. He didn't plead. He just walked out in silence. I drove home like a hollow shell, every memory of the past 20 years flashing before my eyes. Elena in her wedding dress, radiant and full of hope. Elena holding our baby for the first time. Elena gripping my hand through hospital visits when we feared cancer might take me. And Jason, always there, in every picture, every significant moment. But now, all I saw were cracks. When I confronted Elena, she begged for forgiveness. She cried, insisting it meant nothing. She claimed to have forgotten it even happened, that we were hardly even a couple at the time. But I couldn't listen to her excuses. "You're the reason we're here," I told her, my voice cold. And then, without another word, I left. I didn't go back that night. I drove for what felt like hours, with no destination in mind. The road was all I could grasp, my mind too clouded to focus on where I was headed. I passed through quiet streets, barren highways, and empty parking lots where the lights flickered and buzzed in the silence. Eventually, I found myself at a 24-hour diner off Route 9. I ordered a coffee, but it sat untouched in front of me. I wasn't there to drink. I was there to think. to process everything that had just exploded in my life. 20 years of marriage, of trust, of shared struggles. We had weathered job losses, a miscarriage, a fire that nearly destroyed everything we built. And all along, a secret festered beneath the surface, like decay hidden under the floorboards. My phone buzzed, pulling me from my thoughts. Elena. I let it ring. Then the texts came one after another, pleading with me to respond. Please call me. I'm scared. I never meant to hurt you. I don't even know why it happened. Are we really going to throw away 20 years because of something before we were married? Think about our kids. Think about everything we've been through. I read each message, then powered the phone off. Forgiveness wasn't something that could be offered through a text. The next morning, I walked into the office looking like I hadn't slept, because I hadn't. My assistant took one look at me and wisely said nothing. I spent the morning staring blankly at my screen, unable to process the numbers on the page, the emails in my inbox. My body was there, but my mind was far away, lost in the storm of everything that had just unraveled. Around noon, I grabbed my keys, left without a word, and found myself on my way to Jason's house. When I arrived, his truck wasn't there. The porch was the same as always, ordinary, unremarkable, but something about it felt empty. I walked up and knocked. The door creaked open, and there he stood, looking pale, his eyes hollow, as if the color had drained out of his world. "Why now?" I asked, my voice flat, weary. He lowered his gaze, unable to meet my eyes. I couldn't keep carrying it. Every time you talked about Emily, about her future wedding, I kept thinking, what if she goes into that day not knowing the truth, like you did? I said nothing. Not because I didn't feel anything, but because I wasn't angry in the way I expected to be. I wasn't exploding. I was assessing, measuring the damage. "You took something from me," I said, finally breaking the silence. "And I don't know how to look at you again without seeing that." He nodded, just once. "If you want me gone, I'll leave." "No," I replied, calm but certain. "You're not going anywhere. You'll stay right here, and you'll witness everything that happens next." He looked confused, but I didn't explain. I turned and walked away without another word. That night, I sat with my kids, just the three of us. No Elena. I needed them to hear this from me, not from rumors or hearsay. We sat on the same benches where we used to sit after paddleboat rides, back when scraped knees and cotton candy were the only things they worried about. Emily, now 19, sat stiff, her face unreadable. Noah, 17, leaned forward, already sensing something was wrong. "We're separating," I told them. The words hung in the air, thick with gravity. Silence. For a moment, there was nothing, just stunned stillness. Then Emily spoke, her voice trembling, barely above a whisper. "Why? What happened?" I hesitated, then answered, my voice steady but heavy. "Because the night before we got married, your mom slept with someone else. Someone I trusted. Someone I thought was family." Noah's jaw tightened, his eyes darkening. "Jason." I nodded. "I found out yesterday. She never told me. For 20 years, I lived in a lie." Emily's face twisted between rage and sorrow. "So what happens now?" she asked, voice barely audible. I looked out at the lake before answering. "Now I rebuild. I move forward. And I don't let this secret define the rest of my life." 3 days later, I sat across from my lawyer. Years ago, we had signed a prenup, something that seemed like just a formality at the time. But there was an infidelity clause buried in it. Technically, what Elena did happened before we were married, but the lies, the years of deceit, those couldn't be ignored. My lawyer leaned in, his expression serious. "There's a case here," he said. "You entered the marriage under false pretenses. Combined with the emotional damage and the ongoing deception, this could be significant." I nodded. "I'm not just looking for a divorce. I want her to pay for the truth she kept from me. I didn't want chaos. I didn't want to be the bitter man who clung to the past. That would only make me look small. But this wasn't about the past. It was about the future I had been forced to live without knowing the truth. A marriage built on ignorance. I asked Elena to meet me, face to face. Neutral ground. She chose a small coffee shop downtown, likely thinking I was ready to talk, maybe even forgive. She arrived early, no makeup, no jewelry, her hair simply pulled back, as though she were trying to turn back time. She looked drained, as though the weight of everything had taken its toll. I sat down, looking at her in silence for a long moment. Then, I said it. "I've spoken to a lawyer." Her eyes shot up, panic flooding her face. "Mark, please. I don't want to fight you. I've already lost everything. I lost you. Please don't take the kids away." "You didn't lose me," I replied, calm but unwavering. "You gave me up the moment you decided I didn't deserve the truth." She didn't respond. "You didn't just break a vow." I drove for what felt like an eternity, with no clear path ahead. The road was all I could focus on, my mind a blur, unable to settle on where I was headed. I passed empty streets, desolate highways, and parking lots where the lights hummed in the quiet. Eventually, I found myself at a 24-hour diner off Route 9. I ordered coffee, but it remained untouched, sitting there, cold and ignored. I wasn't there to drink. I was there to think, to make sense of the wreckage that had just upended my world. 2 decades of marriage, of trust, of shared pain, of surviving hardships together. Job losses, a miscarriage, a fire that nearly destroyed everything we had. And all along, a secret hid beneath the surface, rotting away like something buried under the floorboards. My phone buzzed, yanking me back from my thoughts. "Elena." I let it ring. Then the texts came, one after the other. "Please, call me. I'm scared. I never meant to hurt you. I don't even know why it happened. Are we really going to end 20 years over something that happened before we were married? Think about our kids. Think about everything we've been through." I read each message, then powered the phone off. Forgiveness wasn't something that could be delivered in a string of texts. The next morning, I walked into the office looking as if I hadn't slept. Because I hadn't. My assistant saw me enter, glanced at me, and wisely kept her silence. I spent the morning staring blankly at my computer, the numbers on the screen swimming before my eyes. The emails in my inbox meant nothing. My body was there, but my mind was lost in the aftermath of everything that had shattered my life. By noon, I grabbed my keys, walked out without saying a word, and found myself heading toward Jason's place. When I arrived, his truck was missing. The porch looked the same, ordinary, familiar, but something about it felt hollow. I walked up and knocked. The door opened with a creak, and there he was, looking drained, pale, as if all the color had been drained from his face. "Why now?" I asked, my voice flat, exhausted. He couldn't meet my eyes, his gaze dropping to the ground. "I couldn't carry it anymore. Every time you talked about Emily, about her wedding, I kept thinking, what if she's walking into that day not knowing the truth, like you did?" I didn't speak right away. Not because I didn't feel anything, but because I wasn't angry in the way I thought I would be. I wasn't shouting, wasn't erupting with rage. Instead, I was processing, measuring the damage. "You took something from me," I said, breaking the silence at last. "And I don't know how to look at you without seeing that." He nodded, once, but didn't speak. "If you want me to leave, I'll go." "No," I replied, calm but resolute. "You're not going anywhere. You'll stay right here, and you'll witness everything that comes next." He looked confused, but I didn't offer any more explanations. I turned and walked away, not looking back. That evening, I sat down with my kids, just the 3 of us. No Elena. I needed them to hear this from me, not from rumors or whispers. We sat on the same benches we'd sat on years ago after paddleboat rides, back when their biggest worries were scraped knees and cotton candy. Emily, now 19, was stiff, her expression unreadable. Noah, 17, was leaning forward, already sensing the shift in the air. "We're separating," I told them. The words felt heavy, filling the space between us. For a moment, there was nothing, no reaction, just stunned silence. Then Emily spoke, her voice trembling, barely above a whisper. "Why? What happened?" I paused, taking a deep breath before speaking, my voice steady but thick with the weight of it all. "Because the night before we got married, your mom slept with someone else. Someone I trusted. Someone I considered family." Noah's face hardened, his jaw tightening. Jason. I nodded. I found out yesterday. She never told me. For 20 years, I lived in a lie. Emily's face twisted between heartbreak and fury. So, what happens now? She asked, barely above a whisper. I stared out at the lake for a moment before answering, my voice slow and deliberate. Now, I rebuild. I move forward. And I won't let this secret dictate the rest of my life. 3 days later, I sat across from my lawyer. We'd signed a prenup years ago, something that had felt like a mere formality at the time. But there was an infidelity clause hidden in it. Technically, what Elena did happened before we were married, but the lies, the constant deception, couldn't be ignored. My lawyer leaned in, his face serious. There's a case here, he said. You entered the marriage under false pretenses. Add the emotional damage and years of concealment, and this could be substantial. I nodded. I'm not just looking for a divorce. I want her to pay for the truth she hid from me. I didn't want chaos. I didn't want to be the man clinging to the past in a bitter way. That would only make me look small. But this wasn't about the past. It was about the future I had been forced to live in ignorance. A marriage built on lies. I asked Elena to meet me, face to face. Neutral ground. She picked a small coffee shop downtown, probably thinking I was there to talk, maybe even forgive. She arrived early, no makeup, no jewelry, her hair pulled back simply, like she wanted to erase time. She looked exhausted, worn down. I sat down, watching her for a long, silent moment. Then I said it. I've spoken to a lawyer. Her eyes widened, panic creeping in. Mark, please. I don't want to fight you. I've already lost everything. I lost you. Please don't take the kids. You didn't lose me, I replied, calm but unyielding. You gave me up the moment you decided I didn't deserve the truth. She stayed silent. You didn't just break a vow.